afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul, and I am a nerd, and you are here for the February, gosh, it doesn't seem like February, but it's 2017 Tabs3 Virtual User Group meeting. I guess it does. It's a little cold out there, Mary Jo. I don't know. It was nice over the weekend, but a little cold out there this afternoon. Today, we are talking about customizing the main tab, and if you don't know what that means, then you're in for a treat. I guess you're in for a treat no matter what. And that's Mary Jo's going to take that topic, and I'm going to talk about contacts as they apply to tabs. For those of you that are familiar with Practice Master, you're going, well, why is he talking about contacts? Well, there are a lot of people that don't have Practice Master, and yet contacts is something that cropped up, I believe, in version 16. So we'll kind of talk about that and what that means. Without further ado, well, okay, maybe there's a little bit of further ado because I do have to press all of the magic buttons, but now here we are in tabs, and Mary Jo is going to take it away and tell us about customizing that main tab.
Okay, so whoops, I guess that didn't make that bigger, did it? So this main screen is what we're talking about, our main task folders, and it is just the main one that we're going to talk about. You can't go on client or transaction or any of those to change, but on the main one, we can. And this is probably one of my favorite customizations that we can do in tabs because first off, we don't have very many that we have control of. Second, this is very easy to do. Anybody can do it. And third, I just like to be in control of what I see on the screen. So this is kind of fun one that I can move things around and change it if I don't like what's here. So every one of these icons that are on the screen, you may have never changed them. Yours may be different than what you're seeing on my screen because we've probably changed a few of ours. But these can be changed. You can change any of these to put an icon that you use all the time. And because it's user specific, you can change yours and somebody else can change theirs to something totally different, and you're not going to interfere with one another. We also can remove icons on the screen. So sometimes when we're customizing for attorneys, for instance, we might want them to only have the client icon so they can maybe browse clients, get some information, and maybe the fee icon so they could add fees into the system here. Wait a minute, who am I kidding? What attorneys added their own fees into tabs? Oh, everybody, right? They should. But the fee icon is here. But all these others, they may not need this. They might want the recap of hours, and we might want to just put that up here and have 3 icons that they see. So you can really get this down to just showing one icon for, a file clerk, or you can show all different ones in here for yourself. So I'm going to show you how to do it, and it is so simple. All we're going to do down here is click on Customize. And once we click on Customize, any one of these icons, if I click it, can be changed. So let's just click Summary AR Report. As soon as I click an icon, when I have the Customize Radio button chosen, I get a list of all of the options that I can replace it with. I'm going to go all the way up to the top because I can do a not assigned. This would make it be blank. It would just remove the button and have a blank one. And then I have all these different file functions that I can do, from backing up to getting into category information, fee entry. All of these are file related. Payment entry, and we have fee and payment up here, but if you wanted to move them into a different spot, you can move them just by clicking on that again. There's timekeeper information. All of these things can be a shortcut. Then we get into statement information. So then all of the different things that we can do with statements can be added out here. I know a lot of times I see update statements. We do that all the time. So we want this out here on one of these main icons. So update statements would be a good one to have out there. If you're emailing statements, you might want that little email statement button out there. If your job is to do a lot of billing stuff, you just might want it out here instead of having to click over on the statements tab. So again, it's really what are you using it for and what do you want to replace it with. After the statements, we go into all kinds of different reports we can put out here. And so there's a whole bunch of different reports that we can bring out from tabs all the way down. And then we get into, after the report section, get up to the top of that part, we have the maintenance section. So if you're in charge of running those data file integrity checks, or you do some different things with the maintenance side of it, you can bring any one of those icons out here. And then lastly, we have our, I believe it's the utilities side. There they are. Oh, there's other too. So there's our utilities. So again, there's data file integrity check, reversing write-offs is under maintenance, all those different things there. And then other is like our exit tabs. Sometimes there's a little button here that just says exit tabs. There's also our help topics can be put out there. And you can even show the active user list. That's underneath our View Active User List. You can pop that out on a button out here if you want to. Once you've decided what you want to replace this with, and I click it, so I'm just going to use the Exit Tabs ones, for instance, and say OK. It immediately changes that icon to be that function that I want it to do. Now I'm still not finished. After I do all the ones I want to do, I have to remember to turn back on the run, because right now if I click on it again, it's just going to open my list up. And it isn't going to actually run that exit the program. But if I click on the run and then I click on any of these, and it always asks if you want to save it. Do you want to save the changes you just made to this particular screen? And I'm going to say yes. And then any of these that I click on now is just going to take me right out to do that particular report or that function that I've decided. So you can get very creative. You can change every one of these to be something or in an order that you would like. You can remove icons you don't use and just leave it blank. You can do all kinds of different things that suit your needs for how you're using tabs. Paul?
Well, you reminded me when you said that you could have attorneys go into client information but just browse, that we may want to cover how we use access profiles to lock things down in tabs.
I will make a
We're always looking for topics, for exciting topics.
Speaking of looking for topics, Paul, this is a good time to ask anybody. If you ever have a topic that you want Paul and I to cover, just go ahead and send it now, either in a question to Patty and say, hey, I would really like you to do this, or email us, or whatever you want.
Call us. Come visit us.
Anything. We always would love to hear what topics you'd like.
Get one of those plain banner things and fly by our office. Any of those things.
Wow, that would get our attention.
That would be very cool. I think if somebody did that, we'd definitely go outside, don't you think?
I think so.
No matter how cold it is. So my topic today is contacts, and contact is on this tab. Now, you may be wondering, why am I talking about contacts? For one thing, contacts is kind of a practice master thing. But Tabs has been around since 1979. The first personal computer was released in 1981. So they were around on dedicated word processors. They ran on the CPT line of dedicated word processors. And there are a lot of people who've been using Tabs forever. It is also the most widely used billing system in small to mid-sized firms. In the 1 to 50, that's a firm that I'd like to be in, a 0 attorney firm. In the 1 to 50 attorney firms, it is in 35% of the firms. So a lot of people use the software, and a lot of those people have used it for a long time. And so the other side of the coin here is many of those people don't use Practice Master yet. Either they use a different practice management system, or more likely than not, they're not using practice management at all. So in version 16, we used to, prior to version 16, we used to go into the client file, and when we opened up a new client, we would type, or a new matter for that client, we would type the address information and the name of the company and the name of the person and their phone and email and fax and all that information we'd type in, or else it would just default to what the last matter that was opened had. But it was stored in the client file, and that was really kind of dumb, and it created problems. It's the way the software was originally written. We didn't have practice management when Tabs first came out, and so it was just the way things were done. But in version 16, in an effort to realign how contacts were managed in Practice Master, all clients became contacts as well. In other words, you didn't set up a client and put their contact information in the client record. You put it in a separate record. But a lot of people don't even know that, even if they had it before and now they've switched. Because if I say I want to put a new client in by hitting this new button, and I'm going to use the next available client ID, next available client ID. And I type in under client name Purdue/Paul. You may not notice it, but you're actually going to a separate file. So all this information that I put here, I'm going to put the business address as the default, and I'm just going to quickly put in. Now, if you're planning to rent a plane with a banner behind it, write this down. Write this down. because this is the address that you'll want to send that banner to. And hold on, I can't really, obviously I can't type and talk at the same time. And so we're going to put this in. And what we're doing is we're creating a contact record, okay? And when you go and save this, you may have noticed this, but you may not have understood what was going on. This information here is not editable. If you try to edit that there, it's grayed out. And if you actually try to type something there, it says, hey, this is a contact record, and this information is coming from a contact record, and you need to click this hyperlink here to get to the contact record. And so when I do click that hyperlink, then what happens is I go to the underlying contact record, and I can change anything that's there. The same is true for the matter contact. It's pointing to a separate place. It's pointing to the contact file. So we thought we'd explain that to you because there are a couple things that come into play here. One, what if you misname the contact? What if we had typed Purdue with an E, P-E-R, instead of Purdue with an U? What if we had spelled it like the chicken, not the school? And then later on found out that Paul Purdue spells his name like the school. How would we fix that? Well, for one thing that you can do in tabs to contacts, even though they're really kind of a practice management thing, contacts are, is you can rename a contact. So if you type the wrong thing, we're going to take Paul Purdue, and we're going to change Paul Purdue to the way that he isn't really spelled. And we're going to tell it to also change the full name, first name, and last name. And there we have it. Now, if I were to go out here and add a new contact, or add a new matter for Paul Purdue, we've got his name spelled right. So if we say we're going to add a new matter, and we go to type Paul Purdue, we've changed the name. Because you can't change that name here. No matter what we do, we can't. If we change it here, it assumes we're changing to a different person, and there's no place to change that name, at least not the ID part of it here. You can change that, but then you're still referring to me spelled the wrong way. I can go and change P-E-R here to P-U-R, and I can change, but I can't change that. That needs to be done with rename contact. Another thing to understand is if we are opening up a new matter, as we are now, and let's say it's for attorney computer systems. And the system will tell you this, and you may have told it not to tell you anymore, but what it's telling you here is that you've entered a contact ID without a slash, meaning we're assuming that this is an organization. Because if you're entering a person, you should be putting it in as last first. It even tells you that here as you're typing it. It tells you it here as you're typing it in. And if you put one in without a slash, it warns you. And so now I'm creating an organization record that probably is going to have people underneath it. So if I go ahead and put in 1800 Denison here, see if I can type it while I'm still typing. We all saw what a difficult time I have with that. And we put the business number as 800-475-8104, and then save it. Bam! I've created a contact that is an organization. If I now go and spell Purdue right, and say I'm going to add Paul Purdue, it assumes that I'm adding a person who is an individual, not an organization, at that company. Now I could change the company. Maybe Paul Purdue doesn't really work at Attorney Computer Systems. Maybe the client is Attorney Computer Systems, but it's an insurance defense case, and so Paul Purdue's an adjuster at Travelers or State Farm or wherever. So I can change that, and it would pull the appropriate information in. If I changed this to some other organization that I have, like Peterson Insurance Company, it says, hey, that person's not really with Attorney Computers. Do you want me to go grab the information from Peterson Insurance? And I say yes, and bam, there it is. Okay? So an individual is tied to an organization. And that has lots of ramifications in that if I could then go and change something that's organizational in nature, like the business address, the business phone, the business fax, or the web page in the organization's record, it's going to ask me, hey, do you want to change all the individuals? Let's go see how that works. Let's actually go out here. I'm going to get out of, try to move my GoToWebinar control panel. I wish I'd been paying attention when that was explained at the beginning. I'm going to go out of here, and I'm going to go into contacts, and I'm going to pull up an organization. Let's see, I have, let's pull up Peterson Insurance. Oops, I did that wrong. I meant to type in Peterson Insurance right here. I don't want to save this. Peterson Insurance. I am pulling up the organization record for Peterson Insurance, and if I then go and say 5th Avenue and Turner Street, or make some change to the address or the business phone or fax or the website, and then save it, watch what it does. It says there are 2 people, 2 clients that are going to be affected by this. Are you sure you know what you're doing? Because this is going to be tied to a bill. And then it says there are 3 people, and I said, yeah. I said, yep, I know, I'm changing the address that bills are sent to. And then it says, by the way, there's 3 people that work at Peterson Insurance. They're all tied to Peterson Insurance. I'm assuming that you want me to change their business address as well, and you'll see that it's assuming that by checking those boxes. And you simply say yes, and now it's going to change everybody's business address. By having that organization and individual relationship, you're able to manage changes at an organizational level, like a change to a web address or a change to a street address, or adding the extra 4 digits to the zip code and have it carry through to all the right people. Mary Jo and I felt that that was something that was worth explaining to those people that may have come along with this change in version 16 to contacts being separate from clients and clients pointing to contact records, but never really understood the basis for that or the reason for that or what those things were. Patty's informing me now that we have a question. So Patty, what do we got?
Paul, Joanne would like to know, let's say Paul leaves ACS and our new contact is Mary Jo. What is the easiest way to change the contact that way?
Well, a couple things. If Paul left ACS and he's gone, your best bet is probably to use rename a contact and to simply change everything. Mary Jo's nodding her head and she's hitting the whole.
I'm wondering if wouldn't you just remove the organization from Paul Perdue's record? If Paul Perdue is the organization that he's tied to on the bottom is now Attorney Computer System, he's no longer there. If you remove Attorney Computer System,
that's a good point.
That takes him off of the organization then.
But no matter what you do, you have to look at
as a contact.
You have to look at all the organizations all the matters he's tied to,
right,
and make sure those get changed to Joanne or whoever we said was the new adjuster or whatever.
Okay. That would be on the matter contact itself. I mean, wouldn't it? I mean, I'm not sure if they're asking if like Mary Jo was never at Attorney Computer Systems, that then we're going to add her in and then push that out to all the contacts. Yeah.
Yeah.
It might be a combination of things that you have to do.
The important thing to do is add the new person at the company. Take the company off the old person's record so that they're not tied to that organization anymore. You may not have any new information, but at least now you know they're not tied to that organization. And then make sure at the same time that you're looking at all the matters that that person's tied to.
And I know if you go to the very first matter in tabs, to the your 00 or whatever, your very first matter that you have, and you change that matter contact, so if it's going to push out to all of the matters, and you're going to switch, you're going to take Paul completely off, and Mary Jo's going to be on all of them. You would go to that very first matter you have defined and change it, and then it will ask if you want to change that for all the matters thereafter.
So, for instance, if I took Michael Larson off of here and changed it to Perdue.
Not there, down below.
Oh, thank you. Wrong place. Linda Perdue, and then saved, it's going to say, do you want to change all other matters that match this client, all the other 100 matters, 100.01, 100.02.
Now, if you don't want to do that, because maybe in between there you've got some other contacts for matters, you would manually have to go in and change the ones that you want to change that matter contact to the right person for just the matters that applies to.
Correct.
So there's kind of like, it really depends on the situation of what you want to do, I think.
You want to take a look here. And what you can do is you can get to that first matter and say, okay, and then kind of step through all the matters using this next button until you get out of the 101s and into the 102s and say, okay, good. They're all one person, and so I can change them all, or you can just change them at will here. But it's very important to understand that when you change the contact, that you need to take care of the matters too, the matters that are tied to that person. Okay. Well, there we have it. Next month, we are going to talk about report definitions and report suites. Mary Jo's going to talk to you about how to take the things that you set every time you run that one report and make them so that you don't have to set them every time, so they just come up automatically. And I'm going to talk about how to take those definitions that you create and tie them together so that those 5 reports that you run every month with that set of those 5 different sets of settings can all be run with one keystroke called a report suite. So that's what we're going to be talking about next month. And of course, we all know it wouldn't be the end of a virtual user group meeting if I didn't take you to our website, which is Attorney Computer Systems, with an emphasis on the last S in the word systems.com, and show you that if you either click on the word videos or simply hover over it, you will see all of our titles, the 3 virtual user group meetings, or what we call water coolers, Tabs, Practice Master, and World Docs. You'll see our other live event, which is my Coffee Pot webinar series, and you'll see the pre-recorded videos that Mary Jo and I film. Mary Jo has her eBytes video series of short 3 or 4 or 5 minute snippets on something interesting. She records one each month for Tabs, one for Practice Master, and one for World Docs. We also have the Paul and Mary Jo show. We record one of those each month, and that's where Mary Jo and I, will take a broader topic and dig really deep into it, spending 10 or 15 or 20 minutes talking about it. And then, of course, we have our live events. So, for instance, if we click on what we're in now, the Tabs 3 virtual user group meetings, it'll take us to a place where we can see information about that live event, see what the next one is scheduled for, what it's about. There are 2 different independent yet same links that will take you to a place where you can register for it. And as you scroll down, then you'll see recordings of all of our others. Now, this is the one you're watching now, so it's currently in post-production. But as we get even lower, we see pre-recorded versions or the recorded versions of all the live events we've ever had. Literally hundreds and hundreds of videos that you can either browse through, or you can use our search functionality to simply type the word that you're looking for. If you're looking for email statements, for instance, type email and you'll find something on how to email statements. If you don't find it in that first list that pops up, you can always hit enter and get the broader list showing you all the different results. So that's that. Everybody have a good rest of the day, a good rest of the month, and we will see you back here in March. Thanks much, everybody. Bye-bye.